Something strange is going on. As trade rumors continue to circulate revolving around the New York Rangers, the leadership group has spoken out on management. We have some injury updates, and one New York Ranger scores his first NHL goal and is a bright spot in this tough stretch of play as of late. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest, but before we do, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 70% of you who watch our videos are not actually subscribed to the channel, so if you want to do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button. It's free, and you get to stay up to date with everything New York Rangers. And it's no secret that the Rangers have not been playing well as of late, even when they do pick up wins, relying on their goaltending too much and giving up far too many shots. Their play style right now is not sustainable, and again, last night picking up a very disappointing loss. Yes, against a very good team, but there are no moral victories at this point in the season and for a team that has as many veterans as the New York Rangers do. And let's get right into it. Obviously, the last couple of days have been a bit crazy with some trade rumors circling. You know, Chris Drury's come out and said that a shakeup is coming. I think it was more of a wake-up call than actually wanting to pull the trigger, but I think that he may be forced to do that now. And it started with obviously Jacob Trouba's name being put out there and Chris Kreider. And Chris Kreider's been out of the lineup the last few games. So we got some insight into that from Molly Walker yesterday. And Chris Kreider revealed details of his injury, and he reflects on hearing his name in trade chatter as well, and what the feeling is inside the locker room right now. And he was quoted as saying, "Let's go through this stuff right now and figure out who we are," which I think is the correct mindset for that. And we have more from Chris Kreider yesterday as well. He said he is dealing with back spasms, and he obviously said that after the optional morning skate yesterday. And he said his back locked up on him. It's a sacrum issue. A few games back, it was a lumbar issue, and obviously during training camp, it was thoracic, so higher up, that he's been dealing with. So he has been dealing with a plethora of back issues so far this season, which is not great. Not a great thing to hear, and also not great for the New York Rangers if they're trying to shop this player. If they are indeed trying to shop this player, he's having a lot of back issues this year, but it sounds like he is nearing a return, and I think that is a really good thing. And I like that original quote from Chris Kreider as well about having to go through this, and Jacob Trouba had some insight on that as well. And he said, "We're going through a little bit of adversity as a group. Everybody knows it's probably a better effort for us," and he's talking about the game last night, of course, "but there's not really any moral victories at this level. We've got to keep grinding, keep putting the work in, and turn this thing around as a group." And I tend to agree with Jacob Trouba there. There are no moral victories at this point in the season. And with this team, this is not a young team where you're looking for, little things. Like, there's other teams around the league that are rebuilding, and you're looking at their young prospects, and maybe you're seeing silver linings. You don't see that with this New York Rangers team. You need to win hockey games, and you need to win them convincingly, right? So they haven't been doing that. They've been on a little bit of a slide right now. They need to start putting together some convincing wins and change their play style a little bit. And it starts with the top guys. And Chris Kreider went on to say that, you shouldn't trivialize anyone's feelings, but how you feel doesn't affect your ability to do something that you've done for the entirety of your life unless you let it. So it's more of a psychological issue. I think we all know that with the Rangers right now. They got to get going. It's the top guys. There's guys in here who will say there are games where they come in and they feel great and they don't play well. There's games where they're under the weather, they're sick, maybe they're a little banged up, and all of a sudden the puck is following them around. Body knows what to do. Just got to do it your own way and let it do it. So I think it's very interesting insight from Chris Kreider right now, and obviously he is reflecting a little bit, I guess, on his time in New York as well, because there was some other stuff. Go check out Molly Walker's stuff, and obviously Vince Mercogliano. They're doing some fantastic stuff and have great articles and insight into all of this. But yeah, it seems like, he was a little bit fazed by that. And I think that was the point of why Chris Kreider said that, to kind of get everyone uncomfortable, to start playing a little bit better. I think that's exactly why he did that. So very, very interesting so far. And in terms of, where the dressing room is at, I think it's pretty obvious. There's frustration, angst, tension. And that's a good thing. We're 20 games in. Let's go through this stuff now and figure out who we are. We had the best regular season in the history of an Original Six franchise last year, won a President's Trophy, and didn't go as far as we would have liked. We're getting exposed right now. Our warts are out there, and teams are picking on the things we don't do well, and we've gotten away from the things we do well. And I think that's the most important thing. Not only are teams picking apart their weaknesses, because every team has a weakness, but the Rangers are not playing their game at all. So I'm glad that he can at least see that, and they got to fix that. But it starts with the top guys. Panarin's been saying it. Kreider's now come out and say it. And honestly, Kreider this year, he's been okay, right? He's getting older. We all know this. He's not the Chris Kreider of a couple of years ago, but he's been pretty fine, right? And obviously he's missed some time here recently, but when he gets back into the lineup, maybe, you know, lead by example, start throwing the body around a little bit. But in terms of Chris Kreider, he does not have a full move protection. We went through this in a previous video, and from Elliot Friedman, he said that I think there would be interest, and I think this is a no-brainer, obviously, around the league. Chris Kreider is a great player. I think you'd get a fantastic return for him if you wanted to trade him. But, you know, myself personally, and I think all Rangers fans will share this feeling, I don't think you trade this player. I don't think this is the player to trade. I feel like the only reason his name is out there in trade rumors is because he's one of the easiest players to trade, right? He's a top guy who's making a little bit, not too much money, not a lot of money. You know, he's making a good amount of money for what he brings to the table, but he's the only contract besides Jacob Trouba that you can actually trade right now that doesn't have a full no movement clause. So that does play into it. And this is from James Finch as well on the Kreider Sabres idea floating around. I say this not knowing, obviously, the no trade list, who Chris Kreider has on the list, but assuming it has Buffalo, he feels like other teams like Boston or St. Louis who are looking for a scoring forward would have interest to move something for this player. So I thought that was very interesting that Chris Kreider could be on the move to a couple different teams. Could be Buffalo. It could be, depending on his list, right? But again, I wouldn't trade this player personally. I think they got to figure it out in the room. And speaking of figuring it out in the room, Jacob Trouba did talk yesterday, but he didn't talk after a disappointing loss the other day. And I think that was a little bit ridiculous as you're the captain of the team. So he has to show up, show that accountability. I think there's a lack of accountability with the team right now that they certainly have to address. They have to address, That is it's strange. It is very strange what's happening right now. Their lack of accountability. It's obviously psychological on the ice why they're not, able to put it together right now. They're just not feeling it. They have to get it together. And obviously the top guys got to lead by example. Why is a guy like Will Cooley your best player right now? Like, it just shouldn't be. It's great that he is, right? And he's putting in great work, but it just doesn't make sense to me. And then if you move to last night's game, your 3 goals last night are scored by players who make a combined $2.5 million. Like, that's just not good enough, especially when you're playing a team like Carolina. Yes, they're going to try and shut down your top guys, but your top guys haven't been going anyway, right? So I really was looking for last night the Rangers to try and break through and really show we care. This is a top team. We can beat them, because right now they're beating a lot of teams that are outside of the playoffs looking in. I think that's a little concerning, that the wins that they have picked up. But some bright spots I want to touch on before I end this video. Since November 1st, Will Cooley is tied for second in the NHL with even strength goals at 6. The only players who have more, and this is like a day old, so this may have changed over the last day, Leon Draisaitl, Mikko Rantanen, and Kirill Kaprizov. Cooley is tied with Ovechkin, Martinuk, Kempe, a lot of great players there. Obviously, McMichael, which is impressive. McMichael's been having a good season in Washington, so pretty impressive. And the tale of the season, really. I don't like to put too much into plus-minus, but sometimes you got to look at it. Capo Kakko and Mika Zibanejad are tied in even strength points with 11. Kakko is a plus 13 on the season. Mika is minus 13. Again, this was a day old, so this does not include last night's game. But again, you understand the sentiment of this. It is not good. Kakko has been fantastic 5-on-5 and responsible defensively. And the guy you're paying to be your number 1 center has not been so far. So the top guys have to be better. There needs to be accountability. Before I wrap it up, shout out to Brett Berard for scoring his first NHL goal yesterday. An absolute beauty to get the Rangers back into the game. Obviously looking off Mika Zibanejad, which I thought was funny, but a great shot. Confidence in his ability to make that shot and to score, and I love to see that. So he's going to be a really, really good player for the Rangers one day. And obviously he's showing it right now, but he's not quite there yet. Obviously he's in the lineup due to injuries, but he has been pretty good in the AHL as well. So exciting to see that the Rangers have some help on the way as well. But let me know what you think of this whole situation in the comments. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.